Novo Nordisk reported second quarter earnings, lifting sales guidance for the year on its blockbuster diabetes and weight loss drugs. Yahoo Finance Anjalee Khemlani has the details for us, but there is a fly in the ointment. They're sort of a victim of these drugs' success.
Yes, they are. And as you noticed, they missed on Wall Street expectations, in part as a result of having to curb, their output of these drugs. But let's break it all down. You saw the numbers for the earnings. Let's get into those obesity drug sales. While they did bring in $1.57 billion for the quarter, they have already had to curb their output, especially of lower dose products, in particular Wegovy. So while they did say sales were up 30%, they did show increased operational revenue. They are predicting and upgrading their guidance for the year between 27 to 33% for sales and 31 to 37% for operational growth. They are also looking at still maintaining some sort of restriction, especially in the U.S., but there were some surprising numbers there. If you want to take a look at what the U.S. market looked like, it did have account for 44% of all GLP-1 products. Now, GLP-1s, let's just recap what that is. That is all of their obesity and diabetes products. So that includes Wegovy, Ozempic, Rebellious. Those are the ones that they have out there on the market right now for both. And they are not a new class of drugs, but the new formula of these drugs that are really driving these blockbuster categories. So GLP-1 sales in the U.S., 44% increase, and internationally 62%. And that is still with a restricted market. So kind of interesting considering, what the expectation is, what the demand is. You heard repeatedly on the call this morning that, company officials are looking at increasing manufacturing output. They've already had to add an additional line from what was expected. So they'll have a total of 3 manufacturing plants for these products alone. And that's where the demand is coming from. Ozempic already giving them a record year last year. And then now Wegovy, especially with their new results for the cardiovascular benefit, really boosting sales and expected to boost sales for the year. So all things considered, still a slow ramp up on that Wegovy product. Internationally, it's not available as widely as here in the U.S. They're also reducing the amount of lower dose product that's available as a result of the demand to ensure that once patients are on the product, they can actually titrate up to those higher dose levels. So a lot going on for the company. Mixed results on the downside, 18% reduction in their rare disease segment of business. So that sort of balanced out and helped contribute to those lower than expected results. They have had some manufacturing and production issues, just as for the weight loss products. So that's sort of the mixed bag picture that you see for this company right now.
And Anjalee, we could leave it there, but in the words of the late, great Billy Mays, but wait, there's more. You're also watching shares of Illumina. Despite topping the street's estimates, the company cut its sales and profit outlook for the year. Tell us what we need to know there.
Yeah, Illumina is one of those stories. I mean, for swinging away from the opposite end of the spectrum, Illumina has had a lot of trouble this year. We know, of course, the fight with Carl Icahn, of course, has been weighing on the company. That Grail acquisition for $8 billion from 2021 and the sort of spinning out of that once again, or the need to, as a result of both U.S. and EU regulators really talking about the concern there with acquiring it before it was approved, $470 million fine. CEO left in June, a 10% cut in their research and development segment in July. A lot of stuff moving to the downside. They also expect lower than expected sales of their latest sequencer. They've also been impacted by the waning COVID demand. If you looked at their numbers, $6 million in their revenue from COVID sequencing compared to $27 million in the quarter in 2022. So it's huge, decline for them. So they're under a lot of pressure there. Even with the Grail acquisition, they have not changed the outlook for that. 90 to 100 million of income there for the year. So a lot of negatives for that company as it goes through sort of a reorganization. They also announced 2 more executives leaving in the last quarter. So again, a lot of pressure on this company, on this stock. It has had a tumultuous year, to put it mildly. And then they're not expecting any massive annual growth, sticking to 1% increase for the year. And that's a drop from the about 10% they had predicted at the beginning of the year. So like I said, pretty negative news there.
Yes, indeed. And that it's been a fascinating story to track. There is one more thing that you are tracking that we want to touch on, and that is the new COVID-19 variant that has been increasing in velocity. It's being called informally Eris. What do we need to know about this latest variant?
Maybe too harsh a name for the trouble it's causing right now. Not the goddess of discord and strife just yet. It accounts for about 17% of cases that are being sequenced here in the U.S. Of course, that is with the decreased sequencing that we do have. We have seen increased cases based on wastewater surveillance here and in the U.K. That's really where the major concern is. But it's mostly just a variant to watch out for right now. That's where the World Health Organization declared that. Something to watch, essentially. No major shift in symptoms or any other concerns right now. But of course, this just goes back to, it's not over yet. This is also, sorry, I meant to point out, this is also a variant of the Omicron family. So that also is continuing what we know as the sort of dominant strains, if you will, right now.
Whew. All right. Good to know all of this. Thanks for covering all of this for us. Really appreciate it, Anjalee.